Wait, either my sound went out or yours did. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I cannot hear you.
Hmm.
Oh no, now I can. Weird. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think I have a problem with my headset. I don't know, it comes in and out. Oh gosh.
I didn't bring mine upstairs when I came up to lie down. I had a horrible night.
Oh
And
no.
I just like the whole day is kind of fucked up as a result.
Are you not feeling well or?
I just couldn't sleep. The latest Trump shenanigans really got to me and made for a just awful sleepless night.
The stuff that they introduced about not being able to have race or gender stuff, or like there's so many terrible things. What is it?
No, the part where apparently we're now just plotting to steal the Electoral College. That was like a new low, like the cumulative effect of all these.
Right.
Of all these news now, right? That basically there are just blatant plans underway to steal the election.
Yeah.
And there appears to be nothing that anyone can do. I got into it a bit on Twitter with, do you know who Umair Haq is?
No.
He's a sort of political commentator, economist. He's written a bunch of books, and he's been making this point, since Trump got elected, how this is gonna, have the U.S. slide into authoritarianism. And
yeah, so I mean, what maybe I missed whatever news you're talking about. Was there something big yesterday that was different than our usual?
Well, it's the cumulative effect, right? Like Trump was saying, first he was saying, one of the things. Oh, it's kind of like a cool effect. Oh, you just froze. You're back.
Yeah.
So first there was right. So first there was the whole trying to cast doubt on the validity of mail-in ballots.
Right. Yeah.
And then there was the quote about, maybe we'll just have a continuation of the administration.
Right.
Like there wouldn't be a peaceful handover of power. And then yesterday, I guess what got out is that Republicans at the state level are planning to basically just appoint new electors.
Okay, I hadn't heard that.
The Electoral College. And what that means is it just means it doesn't matter what happens, right? Because in these Republican states, if the Electoral College is close enough, and there's absolutely nothing in the polls that gives me confidence that Biden would win by a landslide.
Right.
So if it's reasonably close, then all you need is a handful of Republican states that are just going to, where the state legislature that's Republican controlled appoints the electors.
Right.
Who then say, we don't care what the result was in this state,
right.
Trump. All of which is perfectly legal in the American system, right? Like it's just not designed for an internal takeover of this nature. It's wild.
Yeah.
There's no remedy, right? So this commentator is like, it's authoritarianism, it's fascism. I get, great, what's the remedy? And honestly, his answer is naming it is the remedy. I'm like, really? That hasn't, Belarus has now been an authoritarian government for 26 years.
Right.
That's not hopeful that this could be a generational problem we're creating here. And Steve's like, there are these generals now, 200 ex-military that are endorsing Biden. Yeah, but unless the military actually steps up.
Right.
There's no remedy.
Yeah, I think naming it, the words just get so lost. I feel like we've been naming Trump as a fascist for a while now, and yet it becomes almost, I don't know, it just becomes, it's not effective. It doesn't seem to be effective.
No, his base doesn't care,
Right.
like an authoritarian USA run by, old white men that play to the fears of the poor white men. It's just great for them. It's like a Christian perversion of a, theocracy. It's just perfect.
Yeah. They always come back with, I think we talked about this the other day, the socialist, like that somehow socialist and authoritarianism are, I don't know, they get mixed up, right? In that kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the
Yeah,
big
that
one
is
at
like,
my
yeah.
office has been this new executive order that US government funds can't be used to do any diversity,
Oh,
any
yeah.
race
In the
awareness
federal
training,
government.
gender,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. And so that's like that's every nonprofit we work with, right? It's us, I don't know. So that's what everybody in my office is flipping out about today.
yeah. It's we just did a big equity and entrepreneurship forum with Sandia National Lab, where apparently last week somebody from the lab wrote a letter how the DEI training was also racist because it basically makes white men feel bad about themselves.
Yeah, yeah. There's always one. There's always one.
Yeah, anyway, so my head just started spinning. I blame my period coming on too, and it's just like it's not, like I can't, there's no way out. Like, what's the way out,
Oh, yeah.
right? Unless you literally leave the country, like what's the fucking way out of this?
I know, but we can't all leave.
No, no, that's the horror of it is, this is where, when you think back to any of these authoritarian regimes, right? Like the elites like us, we're going to be just fine, right?
Right.
But we'll all become complicit in whatever horrors
That's right.
this
That's
government
right.
inflicts
We
on.
are already complicit. Like, ICE. I mean, ICE is the one that gets me. That was established under Obama.
Yeah.
And here we are, things that are horrific for us
Yeah.
to read about, like this forced sterilization
Oh my
stuff.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if that was Nazi Germany, you'd be like, oh, horrors of that time. It's like, well, that's happening right now in our country.
Well, and this
Right?
is how
And
it happens,
we,
right?
it's just, yeah, exactly. This is how it happens. This is how it happens.
Yeah. And so that's been, yeah, anyway, so somehow.
Because it's too much to digest.
So
Yeah.
I had to call my own mental health break day today. Just like I got up for a phone call at 7. I spoke at an international conference on a panel at 9:30, and then I went back to bed. and every time I pick up my bed, I'm like, no, I can't. Today, nothing is going to get done today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. Self-care is,
Ugh.
yeah. I was going to say, what works? Do you ever take sleeping aids?
I do take CBD, but I didn't last night. I thought I was going to be fine, but it didn't. And then in the middle of the night when I take it, because I had to get up so early, I knew that was going to be a disaster. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, melatonin is I've started taking melatonin, and I've taken it at different points in my life for jet lag, and it's been sometimes less effective, sometimes more effective, but I take it now. It seems to be very effective for whatever life stage I'm in right now.
Perimenopause with a hint of fascism.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how are things on your end? I saw the awesome video of people booing Trump when he came out to pay his respects to Justice Ginsburg.
Oh, no, I didn't see that. I have to say,
no.
I haven't been, I've just, maybe like you, just feeling overwhelmed. And so like my morning walk is usually when I listen to all the news. And after Breonna Taylor yesterday, I was like, I just can't, I just am going to listen to the new Alicia Keys album for the second day in a row and just chill out on my walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's what happened to me. It was just like news overconsumption or something. It's just like, because there's no, it's just the recitation of all the horrible things, but there's nobody who paints a picture of like how the turn or anything, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but
that kind of stuff. I mean, it makes you like, I knew some of the people who went out and, did pots and pans and stuff during the RNC that took place on the White House South Lawn. And I guess you could hear it during Trump's talk. You could hear people, and that of course feels good at the time you're doing it, but it just, I don't know, I want to believe that it has some kind of an effect. It certainly has an effect, like the people who are booing him feel good. But
yeah, it was quite dramatic, right? Because she's lying in repose right there, I guess, on the steps or
on the steps of the Supreme Court, in the portico,
right? And people are coming by as hushed silence. And then Trump steps out, sort of in the shadow, right? Like right where the honor guard stands. And you can, in the short little video clip that I saw, you pick up that all of a sudden the sound picks up, and it's like, oh my God, it's people booing.
Right.
And then the chant starts, vote him out, vote him out. And he finally, makes an about face and leaves with Melania.
Okay, I'm going to look that one up.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can, let me see if I can find it quickly, but it's never the case that anything is found quickly when I look for it. I'm
impressed. You're usually pretty quick, Astrid, with the link.
Yeah, Twitter sucks though, because it's it can be challenging.
Yeah, unless you like immediately retweet it. That's the main way that
exactly.
I want to keep this. I'll retweet it.
Unless somebody liked my tweet, then it's not gonna show up here.
That's okay. I'll look for it later. Huh. So that happened today, huh?
That happened today. Ava DuVernay had the filmmaker had it on her. Oh, there it is. Oh my gosh. Yes, you will.
Yeah, I was wondering, did they say anything about how long the lines are?
No, it was just it's just the oh, here. It's actually worth screen sharing if you want to see it.
Okay, yeah.
Can I do it?
I'm gonna try to put my headset back up, see if it works.
Can you see my Twitter here?
Coming in just a second. No, all I can see is a.
Oh, wait a sec. It's not. Bring your shared window to the front. It's fine to bring it to the front. It is really very good. Dang it. Oh, wait. Here it is. All right. So now you should see my Twitter timeline.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Check this out. Oddly satisfying.
That's the first time I've seen him in a mask.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
you can tell that motherfucker's smirking even with a goddamn mask on his face.
Right?
What an asshole.
Asshole. Yeah. So there we are.
There we are.
Just the two of us lamenting the state
Just
of the world.
The two of us.
Hi, Kate.
Hey, Kate. Hey, Kate. Let's see. All right, let me pull this up.
How long is your course that you're doing on Saturdays?
It's a 9-week course, and it's by a woman who does. Her name is Raquel Faithful, and she's a DC area woman who does workshops on kind of recognizing and healing from racism for white women.
Oh, cool.
And so I've done a couple of things for her. She's really like connected, kind of like mind-body connections, like where do you feel racism in your body? How do you recover from that? What are antidotes for it? So it's some, it's not all kind of that kind of stuff. Some of it's very practical, like how do we organize around those things? I'm sure it's going to have some kind of like bystander intervention of microaggressions, those, skill. It's 9 series, 9 Saturdays, 2 hours. So
Very cool.
Yeah, so I've been to maybe 2 of her things, and it's co-led by another woman that I know that works with Surge. You guys must have
Oh
Surge
yeah,
in
yeah,
Portland,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of feels like I've done a lot of work on like allyship and, those types of things. This feels like it's kind of, I don't know if in your circles people are talking about healing more or using that word more, healing from racism, and for white people as well. So
Yeah, there are a couple of things that have come across my transom. There is in fact, I have it in my inbox. There's an online thing for white women to confront racism and how to sort of come to terms with it in their own lives and their own experience and how they show up for women who are, especially for Black women. And then there is a new outfit that a friend of mine co-founded, and I'm totally blanking on the name. Firefly, I think they call it. And it's again, it's sort of a conversation between Black women and white women, facilitated. That sort of is just beginning to meet on a regular cadence.
yeah. I mean, I'm lucky that Surge here in DC does that for white people with Black Lives Matter, so facilitate some of those conversations. So I've been fortunate to be in some of that with organizers and kind of coming onto the same page around what are we asking you to do and how do we want you to show up, and what do we do when there's harm, and which there always is.
Really
Cycles
rough.
of harm.
Yeah, shit. And it's I found it really challenging. We've been doing a piece of sort of design work around inclusive capital and inclusive capitalism, and coming up with sort of a very practical way in which we can support Black and brown fund managers in jurisdictions all over the U.S. in basically helping get capital deployed into the communities they serve. And because it's grant funded, right? So there's a timeline to it. There's some urgency around it, right? When we got the grant, so we got the grant, COVID started, the pandemic started, and we got, okay, pivot to virtual. George Floyd gets murdered. All the shit starts just piling up, right? And so invariably, every time, so we have this group of the steering group of predominantly, Black and brown community leaders. It's small groups, like 7 or 8. But man, like every time, it's like something just happened, and you're forced to do some kind of trauma-centered facilitation.
Right.
But you can't not just, you can't not let it breathe, right? It's
Right.
really difficult to maintain any semblance of a timeline because something else just happened, and it's just another fucking sucker punch for these people.
Right.
And then
are you trained in that kind of facilitation, Astrid, or do you have somebody that's working with you?
Well, so part of the I'm actually not doing the facilitation. A colleague of mine is, of course, he's a middle-aged white guy. And we had in our counterpart organization at Common Future a woman who was going to be the co-facilitator. Well, guess what? The fucking pandemic happens. She's a single mom. She's at home with the kids, and she had to drop out of the project altogether.
Yeah.
Her boss, who's a Black man coming out of economic development, he's just like, it's just not my thing. I'm just not a good facilitator, right? So we're stuck in this. I mean, we're done with the meetings now, but it was just this really awkward fit, and but it made really apparent to me, like how trauma just follows people into
absolutely.
groups.
And I guess
like, you can't ignore it, right? And everything just got to such a point this year in particular.
Yep. And I guess I've observed in contexts where kind of check-ins work really well, and sometimes check-ins like just feel kind of like patronizing or like, oh, checking in, versus like kind of processing, like, and just laying it down, and everybody feeling like they can be heard, and not not feeling like you have to solve everything, or so I feel like I've kind of experienced enough of it that I'm doing a lot of facilitation of race discussions in my workplace right now because there's such a high demand for it.
Yeah.
Less kind of the personal stuff, like more around kind of like what are the dialogues around decolonizing development, what is it to be anti-racist, like exploring it a little bit outside yourself, but it does very quickly become personal, and particularly when people say stupid shit. And
I heard about a great
other people take it the wrong way.
Yeah. No, I heard about a great device that a woman introduced me to, actually, on the steering group. I think, what is she? I think she may be part Hawaiian indigenous or whatever she is. She's got some background, and it works in a mixed firm where they've made this, and her partner in the firm is a middle-aged white guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they talked about this and how do we make people aware, and they use this thing like, oh, you've got some racism stuck right there, oh, it's like you've got a little bit of oh, sorry, wait, Laurel, you've got some, there's a little bit of racism stuck right there, right? And they sort of make it funny, but they also call it out in the moment when it happens,
right? Yeah, we use the ouch, oops, educate. So you teach people to say, like, when you hear a microaggression or something that's not landing with you, somebody says like, ouch, like, haha, and you can make it funny, a little bit fun, lighthearted, and then the person's like, oops, and then you kind of put it out there to discuss. And if people can get better at doing that, what you want to avoid is that everybody's like not on pins and needles, right? Like worried I'm going to say the wrong thing. But it's not easy, but it's all practice. It's all practice.
Yep.
Practice. So
also, we do it.
Let's get to